we have an idea that this loudspeaker system is going to work just fine. And it's going to need to, because we've got a little breeze. The first operation here today is to introduce your Master of Ceremonies. It's very rarely that you roll so many people into one person. This man is a former district attorney, a former justice of the Supreme Court of the state of Colorado, a man with a long-time military career, starting with World War II, and he is at present a colonel and in command of the Colorado National Guard. His particular reason for being here today is that for the past several years he has taken on a new kind of a responsibility. He has taken on responsibility for the development of the water resources of Colorado under the Colorado Water Conservation Board. And it gives us a great deal of pleasure to have, as our Master of Ceremonies, Felix Larry Sparks.
Thank you, Glenn. Like many people here, and particularly many of them on the platform, I look out here and see this construction, but I'm not sure that I believe it. It has been a long time. In case you have any fears, if it's any consolation to you, I can tell you that we'll get this program finished in a shorter period of time than it took to get this dam under construction. At this time, our national anthem by the Trinidad High School Band. You to join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I've been admiring these young people in the band here. Doc Donnelly tells me he's known quite a few of them from a very early age. At this time, the Reverend James W. Ritchie, First Christian Church of Trinidad, will deliver the invocation.
Let us bow before our God. Eternal God of every life and accomplishment, we bow in thanksgiving for this occasion and its meaning, and for this material beginning emanating from our most cherished dreams. We pray for thy protection upon all who shall work on this project, and may we all realize and receive significant spiritual strength in knowing that we are co-workers with Thee in this precious gift of life-giving water. Thou great builder of all creation, strengthen our faith in Thee and our fellow man. Enlighten our minds that we may also receive of Thy fountains the waters of eternal salvation. Grant that as we view the progress of this project through the days, weeks, months, and years to come, we may be drawn closer in the joy of building our lives and our faiths together for the imperishable beauty of Thy creation. In the name of Him who created of one brotherhood all the nations of the earth, even Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Mr. Sanders made some reference to the fact that I've had various vocations or avocations, and I must confess that I have to take a back seat to the man that I'm about to introduce. The mayor of Trinidad, chairman of the Purgatore River Water Conservancy District, a former state senator, a pilot, a battler, and one of the foremost boosters of the city of Trinidad, Dr. James Donnelly.
Thank you, Mr. Sparks, General, Mr. Bennett, Frank Evans, and all of our good friends here. All I want to do today is to welcome you here and hope you have a fine day. We waited a little bit long on the groundbreaking, but we wanted to be sure that we had something done over here so that those who might doubt would believe. I told the General this morning that 20 years ago, had I known then what I know now, we wouldn't be having today probably, because this is a difficult task. We are over the hump. It's so gratifying to see so many people come to see this groundbreaking, and when the next one comes along, it will be the dedication. Thank you very much.
Doc, on many occasions, I've heard you get more wound up than that. Doctor, I wonder if you could introduce some of your city council and members of your board here. I think they certainly will.
Mr. Max Torres, the board, Clyde Dawn, Art Winters, Charlie Capalucci, and Mountain Lion Monteleone. In the city council, got Mr. Lovato, Mr. Zena, and Ms. Harry Sayer, our city attorney. And I've got one guest in the back here that I especially want to introduce, and that's Ray Nixon. Ray? Ray was in the middle of this many, many years ago. As a matter of fact, he's the one who got the Bureau and the Army together. Wasn't an easy job, but everybody's getting along happily, and we're doing a fine job. Ray, it's really wonderful to have you here. That's about it, Mr. Saunders.
I'm Sparks, that's Sanders.
He was going to do some more.
Well, thanks, Doc.
Going to sit you down?
Now, I'm going to skip around here because some of our guests will be introduced a little out of order from where they're sitting. But on my left here, we are very fortunate to have with us today our distinguished congressman from the 3rd District of Colorado, Frank Evans. Frank? I'm sure that you can all appreciate the fact that Frank has been of considerable assistance in the Congress in getting this project started. Didn't I see Ben Valderry around here a while ago? Ben, you're supposed to be up here. Ben Valderry, the city manager of Trinidad. I first met Ben when he was in the state legislature some years ago, and I don't know of any greater booster for this area either than Ben Valderry. And immediately behind me, a man well known here in Colorado and a longtime active supporter and promoter of the Trinidad Project, the former governor of the state of Colorado, Steve Mcnichols. The Reverend Father White of the Holy Trinity Catholic Church in Trinidad. Is he on here? Oh, here. Now, the next gentleman I'm going to introduce, I have had the pleasure of working with over a good many years, and I think he's no stranger in this area. Matter of fact, one of the longtime residents and a man who probably did as much to promote the Trinidad Project as any man living today, the Honorable J. Edgar Chenoweth. The judge tells me he knows some of these children, too, from their early age. Now, from the Trinidad Chamber of Commerce, Ronald Sanders. Glenn Saunders introduced me a while ago, but he didn't properly identify himself. He's the attorney for the Purgatore River Water Conservancy District and played a great part in resolving the many difficulties that has beset this project in the past years. Glenn Saunders. Skip you for a moment, General. And in the back row, over here at the left, from the neighboring Conservancy District to the north, the Southeastern Colorado Water Conservancy District, the sponsoring agency for the Frying Pan Arkansas project. Its President, Mr. Sid Nichols. And one of my bosses here today, representing the State Water Board, Clarence Burr of Walden. And also I saw out in the crowd another one of our State Board members, Craig Goodwin of Gunnison, who came over here today. Craig, wherever you are. Yeah. Now, the gentleman who will play an additional part in this program, but I would like to introduce him at this time, if I can find him. Colonel Hottenrod? Oh. Colonel Hottenrod, the district engineer of the Albuquerque district of the Corps of Engineers, and he is a gentleman who has a direct responsibility for supervising the construction of this project. And we have the man who's actually doing the construction, the prime contractor, Mr. Joe Phelps, president of the Hensel Phelps Construction Company. This is a Colorado company, and we're always happy to see our Colorado contractors get these bids. And then the gentleman who has the immediate supervisory responsibility on this project for the Corps of Engineers, the resident engineer, Mr. Jack Pearson. The project manager of the Frying Pan Arkansas project for the Bureau of Reclamation also has the responsibilities for the irrigation functions of the Trinidad project. The project manager is here today, Mr. James Ogilvy. And again, from the Corps of Engineers, Albuquerque District, the chief planning officer who has been primarily responsible for the planning on this project, Ike Redmond. And from our own state agency, and a person that most of you know, Rudy Studihar, of the State Engineer's Office. Rudy is a division engineer and represents the state engineer here today. From Albuquerque, representing the regional director of the Bureau of Sport, Fisheries, and Wildlife, who have an interest in this permanent pool that will be in this reservoir, Mr. Wilford Nelson. And back in the third row here, the regional director of the Bureau of Reclamation of the district which has the responsibility for the irrigation features of this project, and a native of Trinidad, Colorado, Mr. James Ingalls. Some of these Trinidad boys do go places. And the former, is Colonel Arpin's here? Yes. The former district engineer for the Corps of Engineers, the Albuquerque district, who was a division engineer, or the district engineer, at the time that much of this planning was done for this project, and who is now retired, Colonel John Arfman. And from the Chief Engineer's Office of the Bureau of Reclamation at Denver, and former Director of Region 7, Pat Dugan. And from Dallas, the Civilian Executive Officer of the Southwestern Division of the Corps of Engineers, and a recent casualty on a motor scooter, Roy Phoenix. I've known Roy for a good many years, but I didn't know that he was inclined to motor scooters. And one of the chief arrangers for this program and the assistant regional director of the Region 7 out of Denver, Stan Varner. And locally, from the Forest Service, the San Isabel National Forest, the Forest Supervisor, Tony Skufka, representing the Regional Forest. And representing the Bureau of Land Management out of Santa Fe, Jim Anderson. He's not here. I must make mention of there's a gentleman back here who has played a most active part in the development of the water resources of this state, and the former president of the National Reclamation Association, Harold Christie. You will remember that Harold for many years was with CF&I. And then I saw, and I look back here, the perennial senator from southern Colorado, Sam Taylor. There's Phil, and then Representative Phil Massari. Is he around somewhere? Yeah, there he is. I can tell you that several years ago we were short on funds to continue the planning on the Trinidad project. And these two gentlemen, Sam and Phil, were most instrumental in getting some additional appropriations to continue the project work. I see a button back here that Senator Dominic's right-hand man for water resources and representing Senator today, Swede Johnson. Swede is a Colorado boy and for several years has assisted Senator Dominic in all matters pertaining to appropriations and natural resource matters. Now, did I leave out anybody? Oh. Corps of Engineers, Bob Woodson. Oh, well, Doc, we're flubbing here. I forgot who you introduced and who I was to introduce, but I should have remembered a former classmate of mine at the University of Colorado, and now you're a distinguished district judge, Dean Mabry. Dean and I really fought the battle trying to get through law school. The next gentleman I'm going to introduce is the man who has the overall responsibility for this project and all other projects like it in the Southwestern Division of the United States. Major General C.C. Haug. General Haug is a native of Iowa and attended the University of Iowa. He is a graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point and higher service schools. He served in Europe in World War II. He's had previous water resource development and experience in New Orleans and Sacramento, California as district engineer. Major Haug served in the office of the Secretary of the Army in the early 50s and until this year was commanding general of the logistical command in Okinawa. He presently directs the Corps' activities in 8 southwestern states. General Haug.
Mr. Sparks, Mayor Donnelly, Congressman Evans, distinguished guests, members of this fine band, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really pleased to join you today in celebrating the beginning of construction on Trinidad Dam. Now this area, and you know it better than I do, has anticipated this project for a long time. In fact, Judge Chenoweth told me earlier this morning that he has been interested in it for at least 30 years. So you must be glad to see construction finally underway. Now the reasons for sometimes that projects take such a long time, as many of you know, there are many factors that have to be worked out on projects of this kind before construction actually begins. They include the question of water rights, other legal matters, allocation of costs among cooperating local, state, and federal governments, authorization and funding by the Congress, and many other problems. So it is to the credit of all the cooperating elements in this project that Trinidad Dam is now actually under construction. We, the construction agency, intend to do everything within our capability to see that construction is completed as expeditiously as the availability of funds permits. I'd like to tell you a little bit about the construction schedule. The first construction contract was for the outlet works, which are under construction to my left here. That contract was awarded in April of this year to the Hensel Phelps Construction Company of Greeley. The contract and schedule, in fact, is a little ahead of schedule, and he is scheduled to complete in March 1970. Now, land acquisition for the total project is about 40% complete and is continuing. Now, before next year, the Albuquerque District expects to complete design of the relocation of Colorado State Highway 12 and to begin design of the relocation of the railroad and the water lines, and to start the final plans and specifications on the major features of the project, which is the main dam, embankment, and the spillway. Now, it's planned to award the work on the major features, that is the main dam and the spillway, as a single contract. Now, contingent on continuing appropriations of funds by the Congress, This phase of construction, that is the main dam and the spillway, will begin in 1970, and it'll take about 3 years, so it ought to be complete in 1973. Now, so much for the construction schedule. A little bit, again, on the history of the Trinidad Dam and the Reservoir Project, how it has reflected the excellent cooperation between local, state, and federal levels of government. A list of persons who have made important contributions to this project would be very, very long. I see the entire project as an excellent example of cooperation between the City of Trinidad, the Purgatore River Water Conservancy District, the Bureau of Reclamation, and the Army Corps of Engineers. I pronounce that Purgatore, but a contemporary of mine, who is a native of the state of Colorado, told me that the proper pronunciation is Purgatore. But I understand that applies to the river, and I wasn't sure that it applied to the Conservancy District. We in the Army Corps of Engineers are proud of our record in the development of water resources of our nation. And we look forward to further development of these vital resources in the future. However, we do realize that results are possible only through the cooperative efforts of all interested people, just as we had here at Trinidad, even though it took a long time. Therefore, you can all be proud of this project as a major accomplishment, which will meet all the requirements for which it is being built: flood control and irrigation. And in addition to filling these basic needs, a reservoir such as you will have here will make a particularly valuable contribution to the well-being of people through increased opportunities for the enjoyment of healthful outdoor recreation. So in closing, I want to again salute all the forward-looking, civic-minded citizens whose continuing interest and hard work have combined to bring this project into being. And I thank you again for asking me to help you open this construction.
Thank you, General Haug, and I hope that you can come back the day that this dam is completed, when we'll really dedicate it in final style. Glenn Saunders and I were sitting there reminiscing here just a few moments ago, and it occurred to Glenn that there are many people who deserve a tremendous amount of credit for this project who are not here today. I'm going to ask Glenn just to step up and list a few of those.
General Hogue has very properly said that this project is the result of cooperation of innumerable people. If we had all the people on the platform who have contributed to this, we'd have to have a mighty big platform. But among those that we shouldn't forget are one who would have been here today, but for the fact that he has a wedding in the East of a member of his family. Everyone remembers him. It's former Senator, former Governor Ed C. Johnson. We also have to point out that this project really was started by the cooperation of the Colorado Water Conservation Board with the people of the Trinidad area, not only the city, but the farmers and ranchers. Also, the Arkansas Commission on the Arkansas, which is a compacted river and of which this is part, as well as the Bureau of Reclamation and, of course, the constructing agency, the U.S. Army Engineers. Of the people in the Arkansas Commission who cannot be here but ought to be remembered, and you will remember them, are Cover Mendenhall and Harry Nevius, who was essential recently in helping us secure the change of place of storage of the model reservoir to this site, General Hans Kramer, and then members of the City Council who are not here now, but were on the City Council heretofore and gave active participation and help include John Carr, Victor Mayo, Rudy Maza, and Frank Inman. Last, we don't want to forget two of the men of the Colorado Water Conservation Board who have contributed so much to the water resources of this state and their development. Clifford Stone, who passed away as the result of complete overwork in his job as director for the Water Conservation Board. He held the job that Larry Sparks now holds. And then a man whom Sparks assigned especially to this project and to make it his special duty to put together, and who probably gave us more work than any other single individual in the Colorado Water Conservation Board, and who has also, most unfortunately, passed away in an early, untimely death. And this is the person of Leonard Cooper.
Thank you, Glenn. I regret to announce that as a result of an unexpected request by the White House, Commissioner Dominy was not able to be here today. We learned of this only yesterday afternoon. He has been requested to accompany some of the White House staff on a trip to Thailand and Laos. The Commissioner surely regrets his change in plans, but it was simply unavoidable. As an able replacement for the Commissioner, we have with us today his assistant, Mr. N.B. Buzz Bennett, who is the Assistant United States Commissioner of Reclamation. Buzz, as we all know him, is a native of the state of Wyoming. Graduated with a degree of civil engineer from the University of Nebraska. He has had numerous assignments with the Department of Interior in working his way up to one of the top jobs in the Bureau of Reclamation. During his tenure, he has devoted much of his energies to the development and recognition of the public power aspect of the Bureau's multiple purpose program development, and is a recognized national leader in the field of public power. Mr. Bennett has served well, and we're very pleased to have him here today. Buzz.
Thank you, Larry. Congressman Evans, Dr. Donnelly, General Hogg, I'll do my best to replace Commissioner Dominy. He asked me, too, to extend to you his apologies for the last-minute change in the program. I'm going to give you his talk, not as he would have done it, I'm sure. But I'll try at least to emphasize those points which he would want you to be aware of. There may be those among you who look at your programs in advance and wondered, what in the world is a Commissioner of Reclamation doing at a dedication of a Corps of Engineers dam? There may be even some here who thought the two rivals in the federal dam building business might liven up the proceedings by staging some sort of a Donnybrook. To those of you who might have entertained some such thoughts, I'll have to tender my apologies. I don't like to be a party pooper, but the facts are that the Bureau of Reclamation and the Corps of Engineers have a long history of being friendly collaborators in water resource developments. And today, we are both here to add another chapter to that history. I don't say that we never had any differences of opinion, as to which of our agents should build what dam. Whether, for instance, its major benefits would be derived from irrigation of farmlands or other project functions that would put it under the jurisdiction of the Bureau of Reclamation, or whether the primary justification would be for flood control or navigation, which would make it primarily a Corps of Engineers project. We have argued out these differences, and usually the end result has been a better integrated and sounder project, no matter which of us did the actual construction. And of course, whenever the Corps of Engineers builds a flood control dam, and there are subsidiary benefits to be derived from including the function of irrigation, as is the case here with the Trinidad Dam, the Bureau of Reclamation is responsible for planning the irrigation features and working out repayment arrangements with the water users. Conversely, whenever we build a reclamation dam that includes flood control functions, we rely on the Corps of Engineers to plan and operate the flood control features. So we in the Corps have a long history of cooperative planning of multiple purpose developments. That history runs through all the years of planning and constructing the Great Missouri River Basin project in 7 states, including Colorado. It includes joint developments on the Columbia River in the Pacific Northwest and in the Central Valley of California, and just about everywhere else in the western United States. And now it brings us to Trinidad Dam. It took a rugged lot of coal miners, old-time railroad men, and other hardy pioneers to dare challenge nature for a living in this semi-arid area. And their descendants, obviously, are men and women of the same breed. How else would you explain the success of the tremendous effort that brings us to this long-awaited groundbreaking ceremony today? When I find out precisely how you people uncoil this tangle of barbed wire that you call the picket wire, I shall pass that secret on to other sections of the country that don't seem to have either your tools or your wisdom. It has been more than 30 years since the Bureau of Reclamation launched preliminary studies on irrigation developments of this area, and 16 years since cooperative studies were started by the Bureau and the Corps of Engineers. Seldom has any community maintained the interest and drive that you have demonstrated over this lengthy period. I wish also to salute the Corps of Engineers for the excellent cooperation in this venture. Specifically, I want to publicly acknowledge the excellent pioneering efforts of J.L. Ike Redmond, Chief of the Corps' Engineering Division Albuquerque office, and Colonel John Hoffman, who retired some time ago as District Engineer at Albuquerque. Your Congressman, Frank Evans of Pueblo, has earned the respect of his constituents in Colorado and his colleagues in Washington for his energy and pursuit in successful race that finally ended this marathon. I'm sure most of you realize that nailing down a project of this kind requires good footwork, a lot of leg work, and a lot of brain work in the obstacle-strewn halls of the Congress. We are deeply indebted, too, to that old fire horse who refused to let the flickering flame of this project die out in those frustrating days back in the 40s and the 50s. A man of less patience and persistence would have surrendered to the overwhelming odds, but your good friend and mine stubbornly refused to let anything diminish his interest in this vital Trinidad project. It is a privilege to extend thanks and words of appreciation to Judge J. Chenoweth, former congressman from Colorado's 3rd District. My personal thanks go also to Jim Ogilvy, project manager of the Bureau's Frying Pan, Arkansas project in Pueblo. Jim is a good engineer, a good administrator, and a good juggler. He is accustomed to keeping several balls in the air at one time, and he skillfully handled the delicate aspects of the Trinidad project along with his other duties on the Fry Ark. There can be no great orchestra without a great conductor. And you fortunately had a Toscanini, sometimes a stormy one, I'm told, in Mayor Jim Donnelly, who created harmony from sometimes discordant and conflicting notes. It was an extremely complicated and difficult task, but I understand that Dr. Donnelly doesn't take any other kind of assignments. Someone said the mayor's father was a conductor on the Santa Fe, and that Jim learned all the train signals as a boy, but promptly forgot every one except the highball calling for full steam ahead. This community is richer today because Dr. Donnelly learned and remembered the railroad highball. Construction of Trinidad Dam and Reservoir by the Corps of Engineers was authorized by Congress on July 3, 1958. And the Purgatore River Water Conservancy District was formed in December of 1960 to operate and to contract for repayment of the irrigation phase of the project. The Bureau of Reclamation completed its irrigation studies and report in October 1964. Irrigation aspects of this great development, including negotiation of a contract for repayment of the $6,435,000 cost allocated to irrigation, is our responsibility. We executed this contract early last year. It is a unique contract, and one that is as advantageous to the water users as any I have ever seen. How will this project benefit your community? It will stabilize the economy by stabilizing agriculture. At present, much of the Purgatore's irrigation water supply comes from the spring runoff or from summer rains, which usually occur when available supplies exceed the requirements. The water supply has been very erratic. At the dam site, the river has averaged about 62,000 acre-feet annually. But averages don't mean anything. Not when annual flows fluctuate as wildly as they do on the Purgatory. The high flow was 197,300 acre-feet in 1942, and the low flow was a trickle of 16,300 acre-feet in 1951. The important question isn't the average flow, it's how much can a farmer depend on when he needs it. The answer varies from not much to none, depending on high or low priority of water rights. For a long time, you have badly needed a good storage facility. Yet no storage facilities have been available for any of the irrigation systems except Model, and you know its situation. Irrigators thus must take the water when it is in the river, although it may not be the best time to apply it to their crops. When water is urgently needed in the growing season, it isn't there. Water again is available in the winter and is applied to the fields in hopes that the water moisture in the soil will hold over. I don't need to tell you how much better off you'll be by hanging on to that winter water and use it rather in the growing season. With the project in operation, of course, that water can be saved in the reservoir and used when the crops need it. The use of the project water will be limited to about 20,000 acres of irrigated land to be served by the 11 existing ditch systems. This land has been classified by the Bureau as the most productive land irrigated by the ditches. It is estimated that the value of crops will increase from $606,000 annually to $1,377,000 annually, more than double. The unique and gratifying aspect is that the irrigators, by agreement, have established an operating pattern within the framework of existing water rights that will result in the most effective and efficient use of the available water supply. This is indeed a model that I hope can be expanded to other areas particularly to the Arkansas River Valley, soon to be served by the Fry-Ark project. We simply must have better utilization of the existing water supplies in the West. Irrigators along the Purgatore, by common consent, after some hot debates and cold deliberations, have shown the way. For this project, the construction cost allocated to irrigation will be repaid by the water users over a 70-year period at an average of about $91,900 annually. However, the amount payable each year will depend on a variable repayment plan. The normal Bureau period for repayment is 40 years. I believe the plan we have worked out here is one of the most sophisticated and equitable ever devised by the Bureau. This schedule, you see, will avoid hardships by requiring payment from the water users when they are best able to pay. When the costs are greater and revenue is less, the payment is reduced. A stream flow study based on a 33-year period indicates that there will be about 18 years out of the 70-year period when no construction costs will be repaid. This study also indicates that within the Trinidad project, the 20,000 irrigable acres to be served would not receive 100% of the water required in any single year of the 70-year repayment period. With the project, a full supply can be expected in 24 years out of the 70. Participation in an event of this type is one of the great rewards of my office, and you people are to be congratulated for making this ceremony possible. For extending this invitation to me, I offer my sincerest thanks to the Purgatore River Water Conservancy District and to Dr. Jim Donnelly.
Thank you, Buzz. Hey, what was that big word you used about the Corps and the Bureau of Collaborators? I've heard other words used to describe them, too. Now, Doc, we're going to give you your big chance now. Doc Donnelly for the big blast. Where do we look? Over here. Yes, the blast will be on the road, up on the skyline there. We couldn't get any Trinidad natives to go up and set this thing. They're afraid. They didn't trust Doc here.
While we're waiting for Dr. Donnelly to blow up his friends and enemies, I would like to mention the names of the county commissioners of Los Animas County. Ed Howard, where's Ed? Ed, where are you? There he is on the hill. Jim Curry. Saw Jim. There he is over here in the middle. Fred Gonzalez right next to Jim Curry. Former County Commissioner Alec Light. Where's Alec? About ready, Doc? Bill?
Okay, Doc.
Get ready, Doc. Let's go. No. They're kind of fouled up. We had a better blow up than this at the Democratic County Convention. Was that it, Doc? Just better get a better battery.
Well, anything can happen in Trinidad. Usually does. I think we got a misfire there. I don't think we're going to get it, Doc. I think he... Well, Doc, I think Doc's going to stay here till he explodes that, but the rest of us will leave pretty soon. There's somebody up there now, Doc. Well, do you think we should just go ahead with the program? Mike here. So, Colonel Hottenroth, I'll turn this over to you.
Dr. Donnelly, on behalf of the Corps of Engineers, I'm very happy to present to you this memento of the occasion And if the blast doesn't go off, maybe you can go out and take this and dig the hole yourself.
I will. Thank you, Colonel.
You know, we have made some mention of the fact that it's taken a good many years to get this project underway. Of course, this is not unusual. This is true for most of our projects in Colorado. They're all very difficult. However, some years ago, when my board asked me what the delay was about in the Trinidad project, I was trying to explain to them about Trinidad. And I says, you don't realize the difference down there. I says, in every community there's at least two sides of a problem, but in Trinidad there's three or more. We have very enterprising, individualistic people here in the Trinidad area. And just how enterprising, I'm not quite sure. But in the past few months, we have received some letters the Corps has in our office suggesting that this dam be named after Dr. Donnelly. Well, some young lady wrote us to this effect. We have received a number of letters, but we wrote this one young lady back and said it is the policy of the Corps of Engineers not to name any dam after a person while they're still living. The young lady wrote back and said, well, she didn't see any problem there at all. We've been thinking that over for a while. You see how he did that? He just leaned on the shovel. Yeah, he just leaned on his shovel there. Doc, I'm going to call you back here a minute and let you... Doc, you come back and tell them about the barbecue and...
Yes.
And wind it up.
Excuse me. We want to invite you people to the barbecue near that army tent over there. And we want to take this special time to thank our good friend from Kim, who came up here, a rancher, and barbecued this all night. He got a few helpers. When you go over there, you'll meet him, and I don't want anybody to know who he is till you get there. But you're all welcome. We hope you had a good time. This was a fine meeting. We hope we have all of them better and bigger, and a better and bigger Trinidad.
And now, Father White, will you give the benediction?
As we bring to a close today's program, remembering that this is a beginning built on a sound foundation of combined human effort, representing much talent and sacrifice, even their homes in the case of the wonderful people of Sopris, applied to the natural gifts of God, we turn to God and ask His blessing on the work to be finished here. We ask Him as our Creator and Father to protect all who work here, to bless and aid our political leaders who must continue to work for funds, to advise and direct all those who plan this project, to bless and reward those who pay the taxes that finance the work, and to enlighten and inspire all of us to use the results of all this effort in a manner that will add to the joy of our fellow men and the greater glory of our God. And in His name, I bless this site and all of these people, these wonderful people who work for its completion.